is a Trojan kind of welcome right here. Fight on! Oh, I am fired up. You know, Jamie Foxx is pretty good at this. We might have to recruit him. We'd have to make him shave his goatee, though. It is wonderful to see all of you. Let me just say how proud I am to be here with some of the finest elected officials that I know. The next governor of the great state of California, Jerry Brown. Your outstanding mayor, Antonio Villaraigosa. Speaker of the California Assembly, John Perez. LA City Council President, Eric Garcetti. A dear friend of mine, so I want everybody to do right by her. San Francisco District Attorney, Kamala Harris. An outstanding congressional delegation, Diane Watson, Judy Chu, Adam Schiff, Grace Napolitano, Javier Becerra, an unbelievable Secretary of Labor, Hilda Solis, and somebody who has been fighting on your behalf for many years and needs to keep on fighting for us for the next 6 years, Senator Barbara Boxer. It is great to be with all of you on this beautiful day. You know, we are going to need everybody. I love you back. We need all of you to fight on. We need all of you fired up. We need all of you ready to go. Because in just 11 days, you have the chance to set the direction of this state and of this country, not just for the next 2 years, but for the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 20 years. And just like you did in 2008, you can defy the conventional wisdom. The conventional wisdom that says young people are apathetic. The conventional wisdom that says you can't beat the cynicism in politics. That you can't overcome the special interest, that all that matters is all the big money and the negative TV ads. You have the chance to say, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Sí se puede. Look, look, I don't want to fool anybody, even though this is an incredible crowd, a magnificent crowd. But let me be clear, this is going to be a difficult election because we've been through an incredibly difficult time as a nation. For most of the last decade, the middle class has been hurting. Families saw their incomes between 2001 and 2009 by about 5%. That's not my statistics, that's the Wall Street Journal talking. Job growth was more sluggish during that period than any time since World War II. Jobs were being shipped overseas. Parents couldn't afford to send their kids to college. Families couldn't afford to send somebody in their family to a doctor. Americans were working 2-3 jobs just to try to make ends meet. And all this culminated in the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Understand, we lost 4 million jobs in the 6 months before I took office. 750,000 the month that I was sworn in. 600,000 the month after that, 600,000 the month after that. We hadn't seen anything like this since the 1930s. We lost 8 million jobs before any of my economic policies had a chance to be put into place. Now, my hope was that in this moment of crisis, we could come together and both parties would put politics aside, that we would come together to meet this once-in-a-generation challenge, because although we are proud Democrats, we are prouder to be Americans. And you know, there are plenty of Republicans who feel the same way out there. But the Republican leaders in Washington, they made a different calculation. They looked around at the mess that they had made, at the mess that they had left me, and they said, boy, this is a really big mess. And they said, it's going to take a long time to fix. Unemployment's probably going to be high for a while. And in the meantime, people are going to get angry and frustrated. So maybe if we just sit on the sidelines, say no to everything, and then point our fingers at Obama and say, he's to blame, they figured that maybe y'all would forget that they caused the mess in the first place, and they'd be able to ride anger all the way to election time. But Los Angeles, as I look out on this crowd, this tells me you haven't forgotten. Their whole campaign strategy is amnesia. And so you need to remember that this election is a choice between the policies that got us into this mess and the policies that are leading out of this mess. A choice between the past and the future. A choice between hope and fear. A choice between moving forward or going backwards. And I don't know about you, but I want to move forward, Trojans. I want to go forward. Now, look, I understand. It'd be one thing if the Republicans, having made this mess, you know, they went off into the desert or into some retreat somewhere and they meditated on, boy, we really screwed up. And now let's come up with some new ideas because we recognize the error of our ways. But that's not what's going on. The Republican Campaign Committee chairman promised the exact same agenda if they win back the House and if they win back the Senate. The same agenda of cutting taxes for millionaires and billionaires, of cutting rules for the special interests, from cutting middle-class families loose to fend for themselves. Their basic philosophy is you're on your own. You know, if you're sick, you don't have health care, too bad, you're on your own. You don't have a job, them's the breaks. You're on your own. You're a young person, wants to go to USC, wants to get his education, but can't afford it, tough luck, you're on your own. It's the same agenda that turned a record surplus into a record deficit. The same agenda that allowed Wall Street to run wild. The same agenda that nearly destroyed our economy. And I bring all this up not because I want to re-argue the past. I bring it up because I don't want to relive the past. We can't afford it. I bring it up because it's not as if we haven't tried what they're selling. We tried it, we didn't like it, and we're not going back to it. I want you to think about it this way. Imagine that these folks drove the car into the ditch. And it was a really deep ditch. And somehow they were able to walk away from the accident, but they did nothing to get the car out of the ditch. And so me and Barbara and Jerry and Antonio, we all put on our boots and we climbed down into the ditch. And it's hot down there. Flies are down there. We're sweating, but we're pushing. We're pushing to get the car out of the ditch. And even though Barbara Boxer's small, she's pushing too. And we're all pushing. And as we're pushing, we look up and the Republicans are all standing there at the top of the ditch. They're all looking down and we say, why don't you come down and help? And they say, no, that's all right. And then they kick some dirt down into the ditch. They're sipping on a Slurpee, they're fanning themselves. You're not pushing hard enough, they say. You're not pushing the right way. And yet, despite all that, we still get the car out of the ditch, and it's finally on level ground. And I admit the car's a little banged up. The fender's bent, and it's gonna have to go to the body shop, and it needs a tune-up, but it's on level ground, it's pointing in the right direction, we're ready to move forward, and suddenly we get this tap on our shoulder, and we look back, and who is it? It's the Republicans. And they say, we want the keys back. And we've got to tell them, you can't have the keys back. You don't know how to drive. You can ride with us, but you got to be in the back seat because we got middle class America in the front seat. We're looking out for them. You ever notice when you want to go forward, what do? You put your car in D. You want to go backwards, what do? You put it in R. That's not a coincidence. We want to go forward. We don't want to go backwards. Yes, we can. Look, because of the steps that we've taken, we no longer face the possibility of a second depression. The economy is growing again. The private sector has seen job growth 9 months in a row. But we've still got a long way to go.